film I just watched in Britannia Library in Vancouver. Wadjda is the name of a girl living in Saudi Arabia. And this girl age is about maybe, I guess, 12 years old, 13, 14 years old. And she grew up in this environment where her father was forced kind of to pressured by the mother to marry the second wife in order to bring a son, and her mother was sacrificing her individuality to please the father and the society. And this girl was a very brave, wise figure, very strong figure, just like when we see in the movie about young teenager girls and how they have been determined and to face the society and to strive for what they liked. And in that society, in the background of that movie, the woman was not allowed to drive in the country, and the girl was not supposed to ride a bike. It was considered immoral or even believed to prevent the girls from having children if they ride a bike. And yet the girl was saving money to buy a bike, while when the mother was trying to use the money to purchase a dress to impress the father, so that he does not think about marrying another woman. So the story goes from there, and it unfolds, and from the girl use her intelligence to join religious club in order to win the first prize so that she can buy the bike. And it showed that she used wisdom to talk to the store owner to get him reserve the bike for her, to buy the study software to study for how to recite the Quran, and she made fantastic progress on his learning and how he has exchanged things with the boy and in order to learn how to ride the bike, etc. And it is, if I use one word to describe the film, it's relatable. It is so relatable to me, growing up as a girl in China in 1980s. I remember how I wrote in a newspaper about domestic violence, how I encouraged my mother when she faced her own problem in her marriage, and how I have been basically pioneering in that oppressive ideology in the society. So on the surface, just like in the film, the father didn't want to marry the second wife. He was forced by the mother. And it's actually, rather than saying all those individuals bring problem to their own life, it's rather the ideology of the society are oppressing people. So if you look at the film, there is this contrast of the best girlfriend of the mother, Layla. She didn't wear a veil. She worked with the man in the hospital. Yet the mother chose not to do that in order to impress the father. So it is when people internalize those oppressive ideology and perpetuate within the system. Unfortunately, most of the time it's from woman to woman in the society when that the oppression happens, just like the mother. So same example we can see in Chinese society, for example, for thousands of years, women wrapping their feet and make them really like break their bones and distort the shape of the feet. And it's actually the mother oppressed the daughter to do it. So it's really like internalized in people's mind, in the ideology. It's not like a physical force for you to do it. It's just like, I remember when I grew up, I was told, oh, don't do this because this is capitalism. Don't wear makeup because this is capitalism, etc. Don't listen to pop music because it's capitalism. So this is really not someone force you to do something, but someone make you believe doing something is wrong, so that you should not do something that when you internalize it, you thought that's your idea until you were revealed otherwise. Similar example in Africa, like woman was basically their reproduction system was like cut. My English was not so advanced in that level, but you know what I'm talking about. So most of the time, the mother forced it or asked the girls to do it, yet the girls was not aware that it is oppression, and they thought it's a normal situation. It is just how women are, until they went out of the society and realized not only that it's a cruel thing that was done to them, but also it was realized that their mother lied to them, and actually it's not their mother, it's the ideology internalized by people. And the strong message is how change is made. So in this system, it seems like everybody believing this, and the system perpetuates this, and there are a lot of obstacles, resistance, and you just cannot change. You have no way to breathe. And how people make change. This film actually showed that when the culture, the institution, become the perpetuate this kind of oppression, actually individual are the ones that start to make the change. It's the individual start to decide. The mother decide to cut her hair. The mother decide not to use the money to buy the dress, but buy a bike for the child. It's the individual, the child decide, I'm going to announce in this hall that I'm going to use the money to buy the bike, which is considered immoral, but yeah, she chose to do that. So individual always have this choice to make in whatever kind of oppressive society. In my own experience, I did business in a very corruptive environment, yet when I chose to not to follow the social norm, every time there is a way out. So a lot of times we become the prisoners of our own mind. The third thing is very strong thing that really struck me in the film at the what was at the end, and there were just several strong messages, one built upon the other, that I was basically having tears all over my face when I watch it. The climax was built up through when the girl finally was prepared. Actually, the night before the religious club competition of reciting the Quran, the night before that, she and her mom was on the roof and having this conversation, and her mom taught her to recite and saying the best recite from about Quran is from your heart. You need to forget what's going on in your surrounding and recite it from your heart. So this start to make the character of the mom start to shine, because the mom was like repressed, oppressed, and so on. But at that moment, she was actually worrying about, actually was the night before her husband would marry the second wife, and she was very worried, but she chose to concentrate on helping her daughter to recite better. That's the first thing. And the second thing was, this is the first time in the film that the mom directly demonstrated how her voice and her intonation and her musical talent. So it was mentioned only once that the girl talked to her friend saying, my mom sung blah blah blah, but when there was a banquet, it was the mom asked the daughter not to sing so that the man won't hear. So this is the first time she chose to help her by teaching her how to sing, and it's very spiritual, even though the society say, oh, they are religious, that's why they bring all those oppressive stuff, and the mother was somehow struggle with it, yet she demonstrated in her spirit how she truly connect with the teaching of God and bring up this beautiful thing. And the next day during the competition, it's interesting. The verse they chose for Wadjda to recite was actually about those people claim to believe in God and Quran yet not, and how deceitful they are and how they deceive themselves. So this is also the first time this daughter, the girl, the main character of the film, recite in a very perfect and beautiful way. Is when she looked at the crowd and she just did it fluently. This is exactly the verse actually described the society, the teachers she faced at school, the society she faced, and went out from the mouth of this young girl became very powerful. And after that, it's just one built upon another. She chose to recite beside the girls who was blamed and considered immoral by the school. And then she was favored by the teacher. She was called coward by the two girls. Yet she announced she's gonna buy a bike. Suddenly, her money was donated by force by the teacher to Palestine, and she was not able to buy the bike. Then the second climax was she went back from school. She was very sad. Suddenly, from this excitement of winning and the bike to very sad, not being able to get the bike. And she had this little dialogue with this boy, and this boy said, "I will give you my bike." So it was very, this boy has been helping her, and this is just escalated to a very generous level. Yet she was not thrilled. She said, "How can we race if so?" So from here, her message was explicitly about the equality of woman and man. And she wanted not just a bike for herself, but to race with the boy. So this just elevated the whole movie. So before she won a bike, but it really didn't explain why. Was she just trying to go against society? Was she just trying to skip commute or what? So it's all because she wanna race. So this elevated the whole film, changed the paradigm of the viewers, of the audience, and the whole thing become, it's like going to the next level, become more in depth. And then the next was the boy said, "When you grow up, I will marry you." So the boy said that was partly kind of adoration, but also partly kind of trying to make up for her. So she smiled a bit. She wasn't thrilled, and she went on. And then later on, she went home. She went to a rooftop. Her mother cut her hair, and then the father, even though she said she loved the mom, he said he loved the mom. He still chose to marry the second wife, and the mom decided to buy the bike for the girl. So basically, the pivot, the central character, this daughter, actually helped the mom to change, to make personal decision facing her situation as well. So this beautiful, sexy, attractive woman with beautiful singing and appearance and wisdom, and devotion to the family, etc., etc., chose to live for herself. She start to wake up, and then the girl also, she had the bike. She ran out and she raced with the boy, and she said, "Catch me if you can." And at the end, she went with smiling ahead of the boy, and she was there waiting for the light, and that the smile stopped on her face, and that's the end of the film. So clearly, at the end of the film, she was not relying on the boy. She was not asking for help. Yet she was a woman on her own. Yet the friendship is just the icing on the cake, and the boy there is a supportive friend rather than someone who saved her. This is a very strong message for not just the individuals who have faced oppression, like my personal experience, so relatable, but also if you look at in general women's position in the society. Even though some of the audience watched the movie together with me said, "Oh, I couldn't believe in Saudi is so restrictive, so oppressive." But yet, if you step back and look at in the past 180 years, how women's position in the society have advanced, either in the West or in the East, it has been significant and involve a lot of sacrifice and learning. And yet, you think about how much further women will go from now. It's even more out of like beyond imagination. So this vast women's equality advancement is so relatable to every woman in the society, I believe. So that's the second relatable. And the third is, if we look at the wider sense, this is not just women's equality with men. This is also for everybody in the society who face oppression, every minority, every person who have different opinion, everybody who is marginalized by the society in any way, regardless of your race, ethnicity, cultural language, sexual orientation, etc., etc. This is going back to the concept that diversity is not just a group of mixed people. It's rather how we embrace different opinions, how every individual really think on their own for themselves, not to listen or just copy their others' opinion. To really investigate the reality of life for themselves, yet respect each other's opinion and come back and learn from each other. Well, Wadjda is a film that I was crying hard at the end. I can relate to her experience so much and the strength she has demonstrated facing this vast operation of the political system of the society in her family, yet she pivot this a positive force, and she demonstrated what the next generation can be. Is not only powerful, but also happens not just in this film, but I'm sure everywhere in the world, young girls and everybody truly who want to make an impact are living this kind of life, are making their change on a daily basis. Think about that, I feel this film really has such a symbolic meaning, and it shows so much strength and it brings so much respect in me for those people I know and not know who are making their efforts, making their own choice to push the boundary, to move the society forward, to move our humanity's civilization to a more advanced level. Bravo.